I hate that. Okay.
All right, so this is I'm going to read some excerpts from an essay I wrote about Patriots Day. Um, if you live outside of Massachusetts, you may have no idea what that is. Patriots Day is the day that commemorates the Battle of Lexington and Concord in 1775. I think it's celebrated only in Massachusetts and in Maine. And it was 8 years ago on Patriots Day that there was a bombing at the Boston Marathon. And this essay was written in response to that. And it's sort of a means for me to kind of cope with what was going on at that day. So this is called Patriots Day 2013. Gunfire wakes me up each Patriots Day. The Stowe militia on the march to Concord's mustering ground above the North Bridge is commemorating the events of April 19th, 1775. They march with the same steadfast sense of duty, earnestness, and obligations as their forefathers did centuries ago. The company begins the march before dawn each Patriots Day, accompanied by melodies of rhythms of fife and drums, and on this day, they conveniently fire a musket volley as they pass by my house, shaking the rafters and stumbling me out of my dreams. My son catches up with the militia at the Concord North Bridge later that morning. He is marching in the annual Patriots Day parade through the streets of Concord with his school band, joyfully belting out Anchors Away and Louie Louie on his trumpet. The white panted band is an integral part of each year's parade, stationed between local militia companies, Civil War reenactors, and an energetic troop of doughboys. It is a fitting, proper, and joyous celebration of history and identity. And in downtown Boston, only a few miles away, 2 bombs explode near the finish line of the marathon. I'm still going. Several friends and family members chose to run from Hopkinton into the city this year. Though physically safe, each has emotional scars and wounds from this year's marathon. The entire region has suffered similar scars, wounds that don't quite equate to the death and physical maiming of the bomb victims close to the finish line, but wounds that are raw and real nonetheless. Wounds that leave us dazed and confused, yet resilient and determined, as we ask questions and try in vain to make sense of the events of this tragic yet hopeful Patriots Day week. And in trying to make sense of this senseless tragedy, we cling to hope and beauty and love in our quest to realize a greater purpose. Here is my take. 2 lost souls intent on evil instilled violence and destruction and affected a community and region far beyond the scope of what 2 individuals should be able to do. But such is the essence of evil, whose temporal span is magnified by the degree and determination and the intent of its servants. It is real, but that scope is actually limited and checked. That essence merely detracts a tiny bit from the summations of good that surround us. That essence is only the only shallow booming voice of a holograph of a man behind the curtain. Pull back that curtain and see an impressionable teenager and a troubled older brother. If you want to wreak havoc, you can wreak havoc, should you choose. You can be a few toxic drops in an ocean of human goodness. And if so inclined, it's not too hard to do so. It is easier and more cowardly to destroy and cause destruction than it is to build and create. It is easier to spread fear, negativity, and hate. It takes more effort to encourage, to love, and build hope, and to nurture. In perpetrating violent and negative acts, 2 young men chose the easy route and painted an indelible mark and wreaked mayhem. They killed and maimed. These acts locked down an entire city, shut down transportation networks, and closed institutions. But it was only temporary, a mere speed bump to the march of goodness, a march as steadfast and determined as a pre-dawn wake-up call by the Stowe militia. The easy stuff is visible and apparent to all and requires only a few to spoil the parade. The hard stuff requires the many. Their efforts accrue, and their elaborate and extensive network of routes may remain hidden just below the ground surface, but those efforts cannot be underestimated. It can take wide eyes to see, but those efforts' roots bloom and beautify the landscape continually. The easy stuff is arithmetic and senseless. The hard stuff is exponential and full of purpose. The hard stuff contributes to some greater good in the ever-evolving and expanding sense of self and community. Embracing and loving the hard stuff is our duty. If two people perpetrating evil and senseless acts can have such perceived power, what can acts of goodness accomplish? What can the good and kind acts of decent souls accomplish? Examples abound by the immediately instinctive reflexes and reactive forces of the runners of the marathon, the spectators, and the officials at the scene. Examples abound in the support and understanding of the public and a determined professionalism of investigators in the days that followed. That goodness triumphed over tragic and evil. And in this goodness, we find purpose. And it is goodness where the purpose extends beyond selfish anguish and acts, and realizing that life is bigger than just the parochial world in front of us. It is that goodness that connects us with humanity and the natural world. It is this world where we grow and share and experience the glories of life and love. And it is this world that will never, never be shattered by the derangements and delusions of the few. People started reading poems for their mothers, about their mothers. So this poem is a poem I wrote to my mother. So I wanted to share that. Okay. And it's entitled Mangia. Mangia, eat. I ain't hungry. That's okay, I'll make some pasta. Mangia, eat. Midnight specialties of veal masala, pork mordina, ravioli, tortellini, prepared with the finest homemade sauce and meatballs. Mangia, the remedy for any ailment as prescribed in the Italian Mother's Handbook, the universal cure for heartbreak, tensions with siblings, tragic sports defeats, confusing and stress of daily living, simply whatever is bugging you. Mangia, feel better. Mangia, no, not a conspiracy to fatten you up. Its meaning is more delish than mere food or culinary delights. Mangia, snugly tucked sheets, shuttles to music lessons or sports practices, premium seating to witness your performances, games, and ceremonies, a well-timed hug supplementing words of wisdom, just the right amount of mayo on a tuna sandwich, taking care of all possible details so your charmed life has no worries. Mangia is simple and pure. I love you. Laomyosarcoma. It rolls off the tongue like some exotic dish served up in posh, trendy eateries. A euphemism, the same way an ugly, toothy, four-headed fish is transformed into Chilean sea bass, or how cow nuts become Rocky Mountain oysters, cooking something unappetizing into something palatable. Leiomyosarcoma, not a dish to be consumed, but a thing that consumes. First the womb, then the lungs, finally the liver. A passionless scientific description teases and blunts the gut-wrenching emotions. A high-grade sarcoma of the soft tissue, metastasis of the lungs via the bloodstream, highly resistant to chemotherapy protocols, 7 out of 1 million women affected. Low 5-year survivorship. That most matter-of-fact description does not mask the cruelty and unfairness. Incurable terminal cancer. So Ma, it's my turn to shuttle you to doctor's appointments, all important golf rounds, painting lessons, walks along the beach, play with your beautiful grandchildren. Hey Ma, now it's my turn. I'll whip up the midnight buffet of veal marsala, pork mordina, ravioli, tortellini, a piping hot pot of any pasta. How about some lobster? Hey Ma, Mangia.